This is a podcast about understanding counseling and how it works in everyday life. In this episode, we'll explore how long term responsibility can begin shaping how people see themselves, often without them realizing it. Responsibility doesn't just affect what people do, over time, it affects who they think they are. This shift is usually very subtle, it doesn't arrive with a clear moment of change. Instead, it builds through repetition. You do certain things often enough, and eventually they start to feel like part of your identity rather than a role you occupy. You might recognize this in everyday language, saying things like, I'm the organized one, or I'm the reliable one, or I'm the one people can come to. At first, these descriptions feel neutral, even positive, no? They reflect competence, ability to do things. They reflect trust. Over time, though, they can quietly narrow how you relate to yourself. Take this example. You're the person who remembers birthdays, appointments, deadlines, and plans. At first, it's just something that you're good at. Yeah, great memory. Woohoo! Later, people rely on you for it. Eventually, you might feel uneasy if you don't do it, even when no one has asked. The responsibility has moved from behavior into identity. The same thing happens emotionally. You might become the calm one in your family or workplace, the one who doesn't overreact, the one who listens, or the one who keeps things steady. Again, this often starts because you can do it, not because you choose to do it. Over time, reacting differently can feel unfamiliar or even uncomfortable. You may feel pressure to stay composed even when you're not. Not because anyone demands it explicitly, but because it's who you are. This is how responsibility begins shaping self-perception. Another place this shows up is at work. Being the dependable colleague, the person who fills gaps, the one who takes on extra tasks when things get busy. Over time, saying no can start to feel like a contradiction of your role rather than a reasonable boundary. You may notice discomfort not just about the task itself, but about what declining it might say about you. What makes this difficult is that identity feels stable, it feels personal. Questioning it can feel unsettling. If you're always the one people can rely on, people think that you're capable. What happens if you stop carrying so much? Who are you then? This is why people often keep going long after something feels heavy. Letting go isn't just about workload, it's about your self-image. Earlier episodes, we explored how roles and expectations build quietly. Identity is often the next layer. When responsibility is carried long enough, it stops feeling like something you do and starts feeling like something you are. Counseling helps people notice this distinction, not to strip identity away, but to separate role from self. When people realize that responsibility shaped behavior before it shaped identity, things loosen slightly. You may recognize moments where identity feels tight, guilt when resting, discomfort when asking for help, unease when not being needed. These reactions often point to responsibility becoming entwined with self-worth. That doesn't mean responsibility is bad or identity is fragile. It means identity has adapted to long-standing demand. Over time, people often begin experimenting gently, letting someone else organize, allowing a pause, responding later than usual. These are small changes, but they can feel surprisingly significant because they touch identity rather than habit. What usually follows is not collapse or rejection, but adjustment. Others adapt. Roles shift, albeit silently. The world continues revolving. This experience often challenges assumptions about what was truly required. Understanding how responsibility shapes identity helps explain why burnout isn't just about exhaustion. It's about feeling unable to step out of a role without losing a sense of self. When this is recognized, people often feel less pressure to perform consistency at all costs. Identity becomes flexible. Responsibility becomes something that can be chosen rather than assumed or forced upon us. In the next episode, we'll continue this by looking at what happens when people start loosening these identity based roles and why change often feels more internal than external at first.